I was so desperate to find something for myself, like outside of being a mum. I feel like it's so easy for us to lose ourselves as a person. You really taught me the importance of, outside of what you were saying as my physical therapist, listen to my body. It's my body. It's our responsibility as the patient to communicate and communicate honestly. We might be led down the wrong path, and that's not on you. That's actually on us for not being able to communicate and articulate.
I think I remember saying, like, Amy, this is going to be a very dark time.
Yeah.
And you have to prepare for it. You have to make sure that you're mentally, as much as you can, prepared for the surgery. And you have people in your life that you can trust to help you.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to be able to do a lot yourself. And it's okay to lean on other people. And this is the time. Be ready, because it's going to be hard. Welcome to the Healthcare Revolution podcast, where we empower you to take control of your health, build a community of trust in quality healthcare, and achieve lasting wellness. I am your host, Brad Powell, doctor of physical therapy and owner of an award-winning clinic here in the Salt Lake Valley. Each episode, we dive into all things rehab, injury prevention, and overall health, bringing you expert insights from leaders across various healthcare fields. Please note, while we strive to provide you with the best knowledge and advice, the opinions shared are those of our guests and should not replace professional medical advice. So let's revolutionize healthcare and wellness together. Today I have with me Amy Emery, who is a patient of ours that has gone through a very unique experience, which a lot of our patients go through, but she has just gone through a very long process. And she has had an exceptional team that has assisted her in that process. And we're going to talk all about her story, the things that she struggled with, the things that was helpful as a team. And I think the most important thing that we hope to relay is that she chose to stay in the driver's seat. And that's what this is all about. So welcome, Amy, to the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
It's so good to have you here. You're a joy to work with. If anyone knows Amy, she's from Australia. Why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about what brought you to the United States. I mean, I know the bacon obviously did, right?
Brad and I have this, we have this disagreement.
Tell us first about the bacon. What's the difference between Australian bacon and...
I mean, I would say in Australia, bacon is like meat, and here it's like burnt plastic.
That's a good way to put it. So what's the difference? I just want to have Australian bacon.
I mean, listen, it's like it's a mix between your bacon and ham.
Okay. So why do we get the crappy bacon? What's that all about?
I ask myself that every day. Okay.
Was it you that told me that Australians, what they do is they take all the good bacon and send us the stuff, the scraps? Is that you?
Was not me, but listen,
that was my other Australian patient. I love it. So tell me about, like, what brought you in the United States?
Honestly, I came over here, so I served an LDS mission and I met some friends, and I just came over to visit some, and then through mutual friends I met my now husband, but we just did back and forth, and here I am.
So you stayed here.
Yeah, I know.
And you're okay with the bacon.
Listen, we all make sacrifices, it's fine.
That's true, especially for our spouses. It's all about it.
Yeah.
So tell me, let's just start out with, what is the difference between the healthcare system in Australia versus here? What was hard to navigate? That
was probably one of the biggest changes for me, I think, because we've got universal healthcare in Australia.
Define that for us so everyone knows.
So, I mean, basically you're able to go to the doctor for free more. I mean, you have private healthcare available to you, but outside of that, like, everybody has healthcare provided for them. And so, taxes are a little higher, but like, people aren't waiting till they're like on death's door before they go check something out. Yeah.
So it sounds like it's used more of a preventative.
Yeah.
Like you just have something, you go right in, you don't wait.
So like back home, like for example, my younger brother, he was having some like cold and flu symptoms, and his wife and my mom were like, go get it checked out. And because obviously it wasn't going to cost an arm and a leg, he went and checked it out just because he could. Well, it turns out he had friggin' leukemia, and he was given 3 months to live if he didn't go get treatment. So moving here, I was taken back because,
it's outrageously expensive.
My husband gets a broken nose and he's like, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
And
people just don't go get healthcare because it costs too much money.
Because it costs so much money. So it's like they don't go until they have to. And I feel like it's scary for me. And I know that that's kind of like I'm a bit biased because I do come from that. It's what I grew up with, that system. But yeah, it does kind of scare me a bit because, you know, what if people do have cancer and they don't go until it's too late, and they could have very well addressed those symptoms a lot earlier had they, you know, felt like they could.
Yeah. So just so I understand, in Australia, you go to the doctor.
Yeah.
Universal health care.
Yeah.
You don't even get a bill. Your taxes are higher, so what you're
Yeah.
paying on the front end is higher, but that's essentially calculated into your healthcare costs.
Yeah. And there, I mean, you go see some specialists, and there is some out of pocket. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not all free. And granted, like, I'm sure some things have changed since I've lived there. I've been here 9 years. But yeah, for the most part, like, you have an option to go see a bulk bill doctor where you can kind of, get that care for free without getting a bill.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. I mean, my family paid up to $1,600 last year for premiums every single month.
That's wild.
And then we paid almost $10,000 for having a baby. You know, so we're talking $25,000, $30,000 just in healthcare just to have a baby. You know?
That's another thing. I mean, we were getting
and
money.
this was not even a complex baby, right? It was just
I
2
know.
days, just regular routine. But yet, you know, by the time that was really the only healthcare, you know, item that we had last year. But you know, we paid almost $28,000 just in healthcare.
Yeah, and that just was definitely different coming over here. So it was just a whole different system, and it just blew my mind. I just was like, how are people?
How do they manage this?
Yeah.
And then our premiums, just for all of my employees, went up 10% just in January.
Yeah.
Right? But as healthcare workers, guess what happened to our reimbursement?
Oh, geez.
It went down 3%, right? So premiums are going up 10%, but then healthcare workers get paid 3% less.
Oh, that's
It is
insane.
it's wild.
Well, and also in Australia, like the health, your health insurance isn't tied to your employment. So you pick what insurance is best for you and your family. You stay on that for as long as you need to within that year, and then you can change. I moved here, and every kid I've had, like, I've had to go to a different OB because you know, our job has changed, and therefore our insurance has changed.
And that provider might not take your insurance.
Right.
Yeah, it just becomes very complex.
That was another thing that was very interesting to kind of navigate.
And it becomes so confusing for someone that hasn't grown up in that system.
Yeah,
right?
definitely
but
different.
We have the most complex system, healthcare system here in the United States.
Totally.
And it's literally keeping us from getting healthcare.
Yeah.
And we have to figure out a solution.
Totally.
Did you feel like, you know, the Australian system is a good solution? What problems do you see with the Australian healthcare system?
I mean, I will say, when you're comparing, like, in Australia, you're looking at like 26 million people, right? And that's what, California, the population. So it's like,
different numbers.
To be
for
fair,
sure.
here, like 360, million people. So it is such a different kind of, I mean, you have to have a different system, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, with Australia, I mean, I feel like I grew up with it, and so it felt like it worked. But I'm sure people that grew up here, they're used to it, right? So
is there any limitations to access? Like, is there big waiting times? That's kind of the biggest problem with these universal healthcare systems.
I would say so. That would probably be the biggest thing, is because they have that available. Getting surgeries, it is, or any, specialty, it is harder. There is a longer list. But there is that private healthcare that is available to them. So there are other options.
Yeah.
But that would probably be the biggest thing, I would say.
Yeah, I think that's really important for people to know that have moved to the United States, is understand like our system's a little bit different, and you gotta help navigate it. And there's advocates. You can call the back of your card, and you can that you can answer. They can answer your questions and kind of guide you. But make sure you truly understand what's happening. But let's dive into your injury. Tell us what happened. And tell us a little history with your boxing, what you do as a coach, and things like that. Yeah,
so my second kid, so I've got 2 kids. When I had my son, my second kid, I had really bad postpartum with him. And, I'd gained a lot of weight, and I really was not in a good space physically, but honestly, the main thing was mentally. I just really wasn't in a good headspace. And I just felt kind of alone. I didn't have an outlet, and I was so desperate to find something, and for myself, like outside of being a mum, I feel like it's so easy for us to lose ourselves as a person.
For sure, absolutely.
Running on a treadmill, forget about it. I was like, that does not seem...
Amy loves Pilates and yoga. It's really her thing.
I'm like, no, it was just too boring. I was like, I'm not motivated enough to move as it is. So I need something that's going to be...
Like hitting people in the face and stuff.
Yeah. So I honestly Googled like anything near that was gym related that wasn't like going to Vasa, no shade to Vasa, but
love Vasa for sure. People
for sure, I go there now, but and honestly title boxing was the first thing that popped up, and so I was like, okay. So I went to one class and it was an insane experience. It was just such an outlet for me, and I never looked back. I didn't stop going.
Tell us, for people that have never been to a boxing gym before, I mean, people think like, oh, you're hitting each other. I don't want to do that, right? But I'm thinking for like general people that they don't like Vasa, they don't like Orange Theory, they don't, like these kind of different type of workouts. Maybe they like the group workout, maybe they like the, Orange Theory kind of setup, but they want something a little more aggressive. Tell us what the structure of title boxing is, or any boxing gym.
Yeah, so with title, everybody has their own individual bag. And so it's a 45-minute class. We do have other options like a 60-minute, but the typical class is 45 minutes. We have a 7-minute warm-up. And then we have 8 3-minute rounds of boxing. Mm-hmm. And then in between we have just a minute of... And
these are the most intense rounds you've ever done.
Oh, they're insane. So we do have like active rest in between. But you kind of want
active rest. Yeah. It's like do 50 burpees.
Active rest. No, yeah,
for sure.
And then we have like a 7 minutes.
Let's keep your heart rate at 160 the whole 45 minutes. Yeah. Yep. That you want to feel very exhausted after a workout, go to a boxing class.
We're trying to bring you to the brink of death, but like not quite there.
For sure.
And then we have a 7-minute just circuit at the end. So, core, or we'll work on some strength training.
Some accessory work. I love it. Okay, so we got the background of, what that looks like. Keep going on your story.
So I was intimidated, and this is usually the reaction I get from a lot of people when I'm like, come to a class, like you'll love it, is just the thought of it is very intimidating. Mm-hmm. I've never boxed before. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to look stupid. And I had the same feelings, honestly, going into it, but I was in such a dark place. I was pretty desperate to kind of find something.
It's interesting that, now looking back, you can see that in the eyes of the people that come in. As a coach, you're like, you're experiencing exactly what I felt.
And it's honestly like the greatest part of my job, I feel like, is seeing that in somebody.
Advocating,
and like helping them feel comfortable and like empowering them to know before the class starts, like you're in a safe space, like we got you, you're gonna love this, like, and just to watch them just unload in a healthy way,
and I would say to a lot of people, if you have not found a gym that you love and you haven't tried boxing and you want something a little bit different, go try it.
It's incredible.
Some people don't like Pilates, some people don't like yoga or any TRX, whatever it is. Like, find something you love.
That's it, whether it's boxing, whatever it is, like, and that's what it took for me, I think, it changed my life, honestly. I was in such a dark place, and I had tried different things, and nothing really, I didn't find anything that just did it for me, and until I found boxing. And it was just like something just changed. And all of a sudden I had this motivation out of nowhere.
So we're going to fast forward to your shoulder, and then I want to kind of get back to that. Tell me what happened to your shoulder.
Honestly, the wear and tear, and outside of that...
Can I define wear and tear as abuse more than wear and tear?
Yeah.
'Cause a lot of people think wear and tear means like, oh, it's just time, right? It's just life. But there's a big difference between life. Your body should adapt to the demands you place upon it as long as they're appropriate, right? But if you go beyond that appropriateness, it's just like, I always tell this story about my daughter on the monkey bars. She came home and she's like, she shows me her callus on her hands, and it's just like so thick. And she's like, my friend tore her hands today because she hasn't been practicing like me. And that story's always stuck with me. I've told that multiple times, but the reason I say it is because people will progress too fast. And essentially that's what we saw with you, right?
100%. Now for me, I don't know if it's my ADHD or if it's just me as a human. I'm like all or nothing. And I found this thing that I loved, and I was just seeing so much growth.
How much were you training at this point?
When I first started, like I was going to title like every day.
For an hour or 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, every day. Sometimes,
and then at night?
Sometimes I even did 2 classes if I really needed the outlet. And then when I got to the point where I was training one-on-one with the head trainer, and I was, I had
starting
my
to fight.
coaches, and I was starting to prep to do some, an exhibition fight, I was training a lot more. And because kind of like a door had been opened for me. So then from boxing, I realized I loved strength training, and I ended up loving running. And so I was doing all these things.
So you're doing 2 classes at the boxing gym. You joined Burn Boot Camp. You're doing a class a day.
I was
training. And then you're running on top of it.
Yeah. In the lead up to training for the exhibition fight that I had, that I was working towards, I think I was training at 2 or 3 times a day.
Yeah.
It was excessive. I know that now. And honestly, it's a huge part of my relationship with you and foundation was kind of recognizing the flaw in my routine and what I was actually doing to my body, which really led me to my surgery.
Because ultimately, you can train that level, but you got to have a whole team.
Oh,
those professional fighters, they have a PT on staff. They got a nutritionist. They got a coach. They're paying full time to feed them what they need, right, for recovery. Yeah. So you can do that, but you need a whole dang team. You can't be a mom, be sleeping 2 hours a night, and then expect that your body's just gonna rebound from 5 hours of training.
Essentially medicating myself with this outlet in a way that just was not
healthy.
It's
a very helpful medication, but maybe a little much.
I just took it too far, and I wasn't listening to my body. That was the problem.
What happened when we first had that conversation? Because this took months and months to click for you.
Yeah, I think I was 5 injuries deep.
And when we first had the conversation about this, tell me how you felt. You were very resistive. Maybe you weren't hearing it.
No, I mean initially I just was I loved it so much that my attitude was just, Brad you would be like, give your body a rest. You need to ease up here. And my immediate response would be like, yeah, okay. And I just keep going because, I could. And after a few injuries and putting into practice what you were teaching me, exactly what you said would happen. Whether that was I wasn't listening to you and I wasn't getting better. But then when I did start listening to you, it was the same thing. What you said came to fruition. I was getting better.
What are kind of the key points that you heard and implemented that you found helpful?
Well, first of all, what I was doing just wasn't working. So,
And you saw that through multiple injuries, right?
No, totally.
It was just very clear, man, this has been repetitive. I got to change something up.
I need to change something up. And at this point, we had built such a rapport, which I think is so crucial. And I just trusted you. And so some of the things the main thing was you taught me is just to listen to my body.
Yeah, key.
Yeah, you would tell me obviously and what you were doing throughout my appointments, but you really taught me the importance of, outside of what you were saying as my physical therapist, listen to my body. It's my body.
What does that mean to listen to your body for someone that doesn't know that term?
Well, just listen to your body in the clues and the symptoms that it's giving you. It's yelling. It was yelling at me. I was in pain. I was having whether that's pain in my joints or my muscles, or I'm having a little bit more difficulty in a certain area that I wasn't before. These are all clues in how your body is trying to reach out to you and tell you, hey, this is too much, or ease up. I need a rest. And I wasn't listening to it before. I was, everything else is too loud around me, and I wasn't taking the time to,
actually hear it, right? Because it takes a minute to actually just sit and be at peace and say, what is my body, what am I feeling sensation-wise at this time?
Totally.
Is it an achy feeling? Is it a numb feeling? Is it tingling? What is the symptom, right? But then what does the symptom mean too?
Yes.
And that's a big part of the healthcare experience, is to teach you how your body is teaching you.
That was the bridge that was missing, honestly. Because I felt like I was in that place where it's like, okay, I'm hearing something's wrong, but I don't get it.
What do I do with this?
What do I do? You know, I don't have the degree.
And ultimately, that's the goal of what we do, is to teach you what your body is saying.
Yes.
Right? And that's why I love PT, because I have so much time with you to show you and to learn from your body. Because, when I do an evaluation, I say, your body is going to teach us what it needs.
Yeah.
we have to listen to it. I need good reports from you.
Yeah.
What it's saying, right? How long did it last? What did the symptoms feel like? Because if I don't ask those good questions, I can't be a great therapist. I can't customize your experience, and I can't uniquely, plan out the future for you unless I have that information.
Well, and on top of that, it's our responsibility as the patient to communicate and communicate honestly. I feel like sometimes we can maybe be embarrassed because we didn't do what we said we were going to do, like the homework we were given, or I don't know, we sugarcoat it, or we're not really sure how to describe it, so we don't really try that much.
Yeah.
And I've really learned that, like, for a physical therapist, you can only do your job if we're giving you all the information.
For sure.
Right? And so if we're not giving you the correct information, we might be led down the wrong path, and that's not on you. That's actually on us for not being able to communicate and articulate.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go back. So tell us what happened to the shoulder.
So so I just overworked it, and then I wasn't. I don't know. I did like 7-8 months of physical therapy. We checked off all the boxes that we needed to do, and I was feeling like
we did like 6 weeks. You went and went back to boxing. It seemed to get worse. We came back, tweaked some things.
Yeah.
You went back. So it wasn't just like continuous, right?
No, we definitely tried everything.
We did an injection, right?
Did the cortisone injections. You had me working with you as well as a sports.
And at a certain point, you got like 90% better, and then you went back after it, right?
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know what a shoulder feels like, what we feel for is capsular stiffness. So pretty much how much tone is in a shoulder. You could think about around the shoulder, what keeps the ball in the socket as the capsule. And some people have stiffer capsules, and some people have more loose capsules.
Yeah.
For a boxer, we'd want someone to have a really stiff capsule. And unfortunately, capsular tightness is genetic, right? So it's nothing that we can change. In the mobility world, we call it hyper mobility, which is excessive mobility, or versus hypomobility, which is excessive tightness, right?
Yeah.
But for someone that's going to hit a bag at 300 pounds of pressure, we want that shoulder to be very hypomobile, right? Very stiff. But we knew Amy's was very loose, very hypermobile. There's a lot of motion there.
Yeah.
So is what we were trying to do is stabilize it through the muscular stability. But if the muscles aren't strong when she hits the bag, if there's a slight delay in that, then all of a sudden the joint takes the load. And that's what happened to your shoulder, right?
Yeah. And then so Dr. Fenton was my surgeon, and he said when he went in there, it was really loose, like so bad. So
essentially the shoulder was no longer able to stay stable on the socket.
Yeah.
And there's a structure called the labrum, and Amy's labrum was torn in multiple places. So the labrum is what extends the surface area contact with the ball, and it's kind of like a gasket to create a negative pressure to seal it, and that's what was torn. So that's where she had a lot of clicking and popping. And we did our best to stabilize it with muscle control, but essentially the ball was not staying on the socket anymore.
No, not at all. And so at that point, he went in and he anchored my shoulder back together, basically. Because I'm a boxer, though, he only put 2 in instead of the 4, which he would normally do.
Yeah.
Because the 4 would have not given me enough mobility for what I do.
Yeah, it's kind of a balance. He wants to tighten it up so it's a stiffer shoulder, but not tighten it up so much where you can't hit a bag.
Yeah, which was great. Like, that was why I had such a great experience with him as well, because his communication was so great.
Yeah, tell us about that. Tell us about Dr.
He took the
Fenton.
time to know me and know what I love and what my passion is and what goals I wanted to achieve after this. And
one of the top surgeons I know.
He's phenomenal. And because he did that, when he opened me up, he had some executive decisions to make. And because he had
knew your history. He's like, I'm going to make these decisions for her.
Yeah, he knew me, and he was the best advocate for me because he knew those things.
Yeah.
And had he been...
What is it you need to... What is she...
Yeah.
I mean, when they're in surgery, they can't just wake you up and say, all right, this is what we got.
No. And honestly, he...
They have to make some decisions for you.
He made the choice I would have made.
Yeah. Because he knew you and he cared about you.
Exactly.
I love that.
And he's phenomenal.
What's your advice to people to find a good surgeon? This is key. This is good stuff, right?
Honestly, like, first of all, I was referred to him by you. And I always say this, but I trust you with my life. You've been my PT for 3 years now. So, it was
that means a lot. Thanks.
That helped, being referred by somebody that I trust. But then meeting him, and he's just a good communicator. And I think that is honestly key. If you're feeling heard and seen by your surgeon, it's such a green flag, right? Like, it's what you want to see.
So many people think well, I don't care if the surgeon can communicate well as long as they're good at their job.
Yeah, it's no.
Can you get both? Absolutely, right? If you're feeling uncomfortable about the situation, and this is why we highlight why it's so important to have a good surgeon that you trust, because they're going to have to make some decisions in there that you don't have any control over, right?
Totally.
And if they don't know you, they don't care about what you're doing, they could make some decisions for you that maybe you didn't want yourself.
Totally. So if they're not asking those questions, if they're not interested in knowing you, then that's a sign that maybe you need to get a second opinion.
And it's totally okay to get a second opinion,
Absolutely.
third and fourth. It's just like shopping around for a plumber or an electrician, right? Get the best bid.
Yeah, 100%.
Or the team that you really want to work with. There's nothing wrong with that.
Especially with these massive surgeries. I mean, these take months and months and months to heal from.
Yeah.
And that's with a really great experience and a really great surgeon. So can you imagine the tough time people have when things go wrong?
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me, so you tore your labrum, you got surgery. Tell us about, you jumped into PT. What was it like right after surgery?
Oh, mate.
Tell us what went through your head, the pain, what you had to do to sleep, stuff like that. Someone that's never been through this type of surgery. It's very different than a rotator cuff repair. It's very different than any kind of adhesive capsulitis or subacromial decompression. We use all those terms, but a labral repair, what's that like? It's hard.
Oh, I was not stoked. I was.
And I did my best to prepare you for it.
You did a great job. You really did.
Okay.
You did. But I was just in there, and this is coming from me who has done so much physical therapy.
What was some of the stuff that we talked about before your surgery to prep for it?
I mean,
do you remember?
You had warned me that it was going to be such a process and to trust the process because it was going to get dark.
Yeah.
And you warned me of that, and you'd experienced How
helpful was that to you as you went through it?
It was
to be prepped, right?
It was good because it wasn't a shock, it wasn't a surprise, and it also helped me gauge what was normal and what wasn't. Yeah. And so it helped with my own peace of mind and anxiety of, oh no, is this okay? Mm-hmm. I knew the steps that I was, for the most part, was going to go through.
Yeah.
And so those things I didn't stress about.
Yeah.
So
I remember having that conversation with you, and I think I remember saying, Amy, this is going to be a very dark time.
Yeah.
And you have to prepare for it. You have to make sure that you're mentally, as much as you can, prepared for the surgery, and you have people in your life that you can trust to help you.
Yeah. Because
you're not going to be able to do a lot yourself. And it's okay to lean on other people, and this is the time to be ready because it's going to be hard, and it's going to be a process that you're going to go through.
Yeah.
And the reason I said a lot of those things is because I worked with you for so long, and I know what activity does for you, and I knew what lack of activity does for you as well.
Oh my goodness! It's what centers me and helps me feel like an individual and a person, right?
Yeah.
I'm a mom and a wife, and I love those roles that I have, but as me, Amy, movement and boxing and my outlets, those were the things that helped center me as a person and helped remind me that I was a person outside of being a mom.
For sure.
And so, oh my goodness.
So right now, how many months are we out from surgery?
We are, I think we're 6 months.
6 months.
Yeah.
And what are you able to do now?
I mean,
we're not all the way there.
We're not all the way there,
close.
but I'm weight training. I'm restricted with my boxing still, but I'm able to do mitt work. And and kind of work on speed on the bag.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just...
And then over the next 6
Yeah.
weeks, you'll just increase your load on the bag. And then 6 weeks
Can't
from now,
wait,
you
mate.
should be able to
Just wanna
really
punch
start
some things.
start in the bag.
People that, no.
So tell me about the struggles that happened through that the last 6 months. Like, what was that roller coaster? Tell me about that.
You prepped me pretty well, and I was like, nah, I got this. It's gonna be fine. Oh my goodness! Like that first 3 months, I cannot tell you. Like, even though I was prepared, how difficult that was. You really just don't know till you're in it.
Yeah.
And I didn't see any progress. Like, I knew that there was progress, but it was so minimal that I just was like, I'm never gonna get better. I'm never gonna box again. And you know, you did tell me, trust the process. It will get better. You will get over the hump, and I did. And once I passed that 3 month mark, it was like I woke up one day and I could all of a sudden see the change and the light at the end
like
of the
this
tunnel.
Light.
Oh my goodness. And it just, it was.
You remember the first time we got your shoulder out of sling? And it was like you could move it this much.
I know. I was freaking
Show us how high you can move it now. Raise your arm up.
Look at this.
Yeah,
look at this,
that's what
guys.
I'm
Yeah. Look at that. Look at that. No. It was so good. I was stoked. But for a minute there, I was like, Brad, you know.
Do you know what you're doing?
You know, yeah. All the trust in the world in this guy. But I was like, okay.
Yeah. What would you say to physical therapists that, you know, are learning their craft and learning how to do, you know, guide patients through this? What would you say to them
really
to help
just
them?
A lot of empathy and like really talk to them like a person, because
What does that look like for you?
I think you knew the process and you knew that it was going to be tough. So instead of telling me kind of as a checklist dot point, this is what's going to happen, this is what's going to happen, it's going to be tough, but then you'll be fine. We had conversations, you know, you talked me through moments you knew I was going to have, but you took the time. You told me it was going to be fine and that it was fair that I felt that way. You treated me like a person, right? And so you were able to then talk me out of those moments. So you gave space for emotion, and even though you knew it was going to work out, like you were patient with me in moments where I just, you saw no hope.
Yeah.
You know?
I think a lot of our healthcare system is going now towards like going to see your PT every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm realizing as a PT, I'm like, that is not we should not be doing that, right?
Yeah.
If I was to create a gap for you for 2 weeks in those dark times, what would have happened?
Oh my goodness. I mean, I definitely feel like at the very least, my recovery would have been longer.
Yeah.
Because I needed those checkpoints.
Yeah.
I needed those pep talks.
Like the emotional support through that of the continual, it's just trust the process. The constant reminder is so crucial as you're going through it, because you're a mom, you got a life, you got a career, you got things that you're working on that people that rely on you, and you go multiple days of being in dark despair. It just can weigh you down.
Absolutely. And there were moments of shame too, where like and fear, where I wasn't feeling like I was having a good week. I was feeling a lot more pain, and then I was scared that, oh no, I'm worried I've done something, or I haven't done my PT homework because I was worried I was going to injure myself or make it worse, or I didn't do it because I mentally just was in a really bad spot.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of shame kind of then feeling accountable coming in, but then the way you interacted and communicated with me made me feel safe to communicate that. Communicate, hey, you know what?
What were some things that happened? Kind of describe that to us.
When in regards to my conversations with you.
Yeah. Like say you came in and you didn't do your exercise because you're fearful it would hurt. What was happening in your PT visits that gave you hope and you were back on track?
Oh, well, first of all, you didn't chew me out, you know.
It's not like I'm here to chastise you.
Yeah.
Like, give me your hand.
Like,
I'm gonna slap it.
Yeah, no.
That a PT has got to stop that, right?
No.
Like, we don't need this guilt.
Yeah, don't.
You know,
make
like,
me
are we
feel
on the
dumb.
same team?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
what is it that's limiting you?
Yeah.
How can I help you get there?
Yeah.
Do you understand why the importance of doing this,
Totally.
right? If you're not doing your homework, man, I always say, like, I'm not doing my job. because my job is to teach you so good that you will not want to miss a day of your homework.
Well, exactly. And I feel like that is what's different with you, because if I wasn't doing the work, you would ask me, you knew there was a reason why.
Yeah.
And so you took that on and you would ask the questions. What was stopping you? Why did you do this? Why didn't you do that? Why were you fearful here? And that led to the root of the problem. And then what happened the next week?
Rather than just guilt.
I did my...
It's
I
like,
didn't
mate,
feel, I was
just
motivated.
do your homework,
Yeah.
Amy. Just do your homework.
I was encouraged.
It's not that hard.
I was educated. And what happened the next time I came in? I did my PT work throughout the week, because I was given encouragement, I was given motivation, and I wasn't given a slap on the wrist.
Yeah. Is there any other things that you want to share about your rehab experience? We'll talk about your therapy experience and, what healthcare has done for you during this time, but is there anything else you want to say about your rehab experience and just the ups and downs that you felt that people should know and be prepared for?
Yeah, I mean, it is such a hard journey, and whether you're experienced in going through the journey of physical therapy or not, like, it's difficult. There are massive highs, there's massive lows, and every injury is different. But if you have a good physical therapist, right, they are going to be educating you on how to listen to your body. And so just trust yourself. Help them teach you to trust yourself. Listen to your body, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to communicate, and just put in the work. And if you're struggling to put in the work, talk to your physical therapist about it. Communication, honestly, I will die on this hill, is key. It is really the key to success in physical therapy. It's not just the stretching, the strength training, the physical work.
So much more
than that. It's building that rapport, it's building that relationship and that trust with your physical therapist.
Yeah, and we just passed a bill to become primary care providers in Utah.
Yeah.
And this is why.
Yeah.
There's so much more than just stretching and strengthening, right? There's so much more to know. We become the entry point.
Yeah.
To guide you through the conservative things first.
Yeah.
And when those fail, then our job is to be a guide through the next steps.
Yeah.
Right? We went through injections. We did all the things to keep your normal and natural tissues first.
Yeah.
And then when that has failed, then we move on to more invasive treatments. But we help you be the guide through that process, right? Mm-hmm. Rather than you saying, oh, my shoulder hurts, let me just go straight to a surgeon.
Yeah.
And then the surgeon says, well, go back to the PT. And 3 months later, it creates this revolving waste of time, right? But if you start in primary care PT first, it can start you on the right journey. And then you can be guided through that process. And you know that surgery is right for you, rather than just, I hope it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because you imagine the regret you might have felt that first 3 months.
Oh my goodness. It's so
if
much
you
more
didn't go
confidence,
through. Like you went through the process first, so you knew the journey. You knew what was expected. You knew that you did everything that you could before you went under the knife. But if you didn't, like you would have went through that surgery and just felt more regret. Like, this hurts so bad. What did I do to myself? Like, I thought this was the answer. I thought I was getting a new shoulder, and this is not it, and right?
Even in the depths of in my lows, I didn't have that thought once. I was so confident in my
your decisions at that point, right?
Because of the path we had taken.
Yeah, it's so empowering. I love that. Tell me what you learned about the goodness of the healthcare system and how it helped you through this process.
I mean, I feel like I'm pretty lucky, because I don't think everybody has this experience, but my team, including you and Dr. Fenton
and you
and me, like, I feel like there was just such good communication. Like, we really worked.
Who did your injection? I can't remember.
Worked together.
Did Paul do it? Dr. Fenton?
No, his sports medicine.
Yeah, so we got you to him as well.
Yeah, so even within his team, everybody just worked together and talked together. Mm-hmm. And so everybody was on the same page. I didn't have to reiterate everything to everybody. Everybody was in on my journey. And obviously I had to play my part too and do the work. It really did feel like a team.
Yeah.
And so there was so much communication that I felt empowered as well, that when I was on my own, I knew exactly what I needed to do.
Yeah.
I knew how to do my part. I didn't have to have everybody hold my hand, because you taught me how, you know, my boundaries for pain. You know, you taught me when to communicate, when to be concerned, when to push through, when
here's
to stop.
my email. If you have any issues, reach out to me, right? You should have a direct contact with your providers.
So I feel like I was.
It's not like you're going to reach out to them all the time, you know, but when you need to, it's
just
crucial.
Sending Brad, you know, TikToks every night.
Yeah, for sure. It's got to be some boundaries there.
Yeah. But no, I felt really lucky. I felt like everybody was on the same page, and I really couldn't have asked for a better team.
Yeah. What do you want your team to know?
I'm just thankful, honestly. The way that you guys handled my particular injury and surgery in my situation, you guys were phenomenal. Like, I think there's so many. I've been to other physical therapists before, and there is a gap in, you know, when you go to a physician, there's a standard of communication where, okay, in this moment, in this appointment, this is what we're doing. They educate you to a point, right? So that you know what they're doing in that moment.
Yeah.
But it kind of stops there.
Yeah.
But for my team, with you, it didn't stop there. A bridge, you know, that gap was, there was a bridge there.
Dr. Fenton called me yesterday after your appointment. Hey, Brad, quick call.
Yeah.
I love it when he calls me.
And I think that's the key. That is what I want you guys to know was so helpful for me as a patient, was the education I was given past that appointment.
Yeah.
Right? The education I needed to be in the driver's seat, to know that I could then do my own PT at home. You know, when you weren't there, I didn't need you to tell me exactly what to do. So I can go to the gym now, because I'm still not 100%, but I can go to the gym and I know what stretches I need to do. I know what strength training I need to do. And I know when to stop. You know, if I'm feeling pain, I know when to rest. I know when to keep going. So you gave me that information. I just didn't wake up one day and know that, right?
For sure.
But you taught me that. And so then I was able to leave your office and I was able to do my part as a part of the team.
Yeah, I love it. And it's such a crucial part. You know, so many people want to be in the driver's seat, as we talked about this earlier, be in the driver's seat to guide your vehicle.
Yeah.
You know, but my philosophy in the whole healthcare revolution is to put the patient, the only person that should be in the driver's seat is the patient.
Yeah.
We're all in the back.
Yeah.
You get to choose who's going to say what, right?
Yeah.
But you're cueing people in like, hey, what's your advice on this? Where do I go here?
Yeah.
Right. And you get to make a decision of the patient, right? Yeah. You choose to stay in the driver's seat holding that steering wheel, and you don't give that steering wheel to anyone else.
No.
Right? Everyone's here to be a guide for you, not to tell you what to do. You ultimately get to make the decision. And it's who you choose to be in that car with you that is so crucial.
So crucial. I feel like it's not the norm, but it should be.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, you know, doctors and physicians out there that don't view it that way and want to be in charge.
Like, I'm in the driver's seat now.
Yeah, and like I get it. You know, you studied really hard, and you know, we're here and we're paying you.
You're experts in your field.
You're experts, and I respect that. But at the end of the day, like, this is my body, and when I leave your office, what do I do then?
It's my choice.
What do I do then, right?
Yeah.
So that's the gap that's missing, and that is what I would say to you guys was the most helpful for me as a patient. I love
that. What do you feel like advice that you have to all of healthcare going through this experience? What would you say is part of this revolution of change that we can, you know, that we should implement, that we should keep doing, like things like that?
Just that level of communication and working together, not just as experts though, but with your patients. Like, you know, I know we don't have the degrees, but nobody knows our body like we do.
Yeah.
And we should be a part of the team.
Yeah.
So include us.
And same thing as with your kids, right? The parents 100%. Are a huge part of that team. Like, advocate for your kids. You know your kids better than anyone else.
100%.
I might know the rehab experience, but I'm leaning on the patient or the parents to know, how does your kid typically respond to this? You know, what are the things that they really love, right? Like, your parents should be involved in that process.
Absolutely. And rapport and trust is huge. And that only comes with good communication. Yeah. So see your patients as people and treat them as such.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
That was huge.
Tell me about what you're doing now, coaching-wise. Just got back to coaching, right?
Well,
I'm
gearing up to. I'm doing my first like one-on-one training with my coach this coming week, and then I should be back on the mic hopefully really, really soon. So
nothing better than Amy on the mic.
It's been a minute.
If you want to be pushed hard, get Amy on the mic. Go to one of her classes, and you train up in Cottonwood Heights.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to come to your class, let's go. I love it.
Let's go. It's the best, honestly.
Well, is there any other advice that you have for our listeners on this podcast? If your experience, things that you've been through, what else? Is there anything else you'd say?
I would just say if you are struggling, whether that's physical or mental, like there are people out there in all different types of industries to help you. Like there's so much available for you, so don't be afraid. Someone's out there to help you. Get you to where you need to be. And ultimately, you expand your circle. Yeah. You find friends, ask friends. Zone. I love when people post stuff on Facebook and they say, "Hey, I'm looking for a great therapist, physical therapist. Who would you recommend?" Yes. Right? You get 15 people just blasting stuff, right? My goodness. And you look at, who do I trust? Who's in this circle that I trust, and who would I vibe with, you know, and then you go check them out. And if it works, great. If not, find another one. Absolutely. Recommend, get second opinions. Don't be afraid to do that. Yeah, put the patient in the driver's seat and keep them in the driver's seat, but you choose to take the wheel. I love that. That's such a great message. Well, thanks for joining us today, Amy. We appreciate it. Thanks for having me.